sit down with them and give them a prep. Don't just like, start out and be like, "Hey, can we talk about killing people?" Like, "Hey, I don't know a lot about your experience, but I'd like to know about it. Do you think sometime in the next 2 weeks I could buy you a couple beers? We could go out and have a conversation at a COVID safe place down by the river or whatever." And give them a chance to kind of think about it and like process it. And then I'm pretty confident most of them will want to talk about it. And you can also like what would really be effective to me, and I obviously do this in like a little bit more of a professional sense, but like um if someone came to me and it's like, "I'm really struggling to wrap my head around this stuff. I don't understand it, and I'm trying to figure this out of what it means for me as an American, as a civilian. Like, how do I what does all this mean?" And like that processing together can be really healing as well, because there are, so when we talk about like healing coming home from wars, we don't do it very well. We do it very differently than like some indigenous communities did, where you would soldier went away, warrior went away, fought the war, they came back, they didn't come back to the village, they went to a third location, and the family went to a third location as well, and they met there so they could keep that energy, that bad energy, that separated energy somewhere else that was not their home. And they generally, as warriors, came home together, not just like, "Oh, I get on a plane and I go back and suddenly I'm like in New York City after, and yesterday I was in a combat zone." So like there was more passage of time, and the soldier could share what, or the warrior could share what the experience was like to fight in the war, and the family could share what the experience was like to not have their provider and a family member and a loved one with them, and they had to struggle too. And so there's a shared bond that's produced in that experience that we don't do very well. But we can take stabs at it. It doesn't matter if it's, it could be a Korean War veteran. Like you can, this isn't just for like post 9/11. Um, there we all have a lot more in common than our society teaches us. Veterans and civilians do. We all like grew up in the same country, and we all have a lot of the similar things. It's just like we had some very acute experiences that were specific to trauma, and trauma is um, very simply, it is a betrayal of trust. You have trust in a car functioning and not driving off the road and getting into an accident. You have trust in your political leaders not sending you to a battlefield for no reason other than profits. You have trust in your partner not to cheat on you. And that rupture uh, produces trauma. And all of us have experienced some level of trauma. All people in this country. And so, like, veterans aren't like incredibly, this is animal at the zoo that you like, oh, you look at and you don't get close to. No, look, we're just people that have a bunch of acute trauma that don't really know how to process it very well, and we're stuck in a society that doesn't want to acknowledge that trauma, because if we did, we might think twice the next time we're willing to go to a 20-year war.